In this level, I'll be showing us how we can make it that we can have an endpoint for our game that triggers a U1 screen. We can also then press play again to start the game again. First off, I'm going to start by going into my scenes folder, and I'm going to duplicate the game over scene that we made in the last video. So we'll right click and duplicate. We'll rename this one to game 1 and hit duplicate. Now we'll double click on game 1 to open it. And up here we have the game 1 scene. Now we're just going to edit this slightly so that instead of saying game over, it's going to say that we've won the game. So on the left, I will rename this to game 1 instead of game over. I will also update my label. So select the label, make sure the inspector is selected, and I will say U1. I'm also noticing that my text is not quite centered here. So on the label, I'm going to select the horizontal alignment and set it to center the text. For the sprite 2D, I'm going to change the background texture. So in assets, I am going to go and find those backgrounds. So pixel, adventure assets, background, and I will do a more winning type color. So perhaps green, and I will drag that into the texture. So now we have a different color for our U1 background. I'm going to select the button, and instead of saying retry, we'll say play again. So that's it for our cosmetic changes. Now I'm going to go and click on the game 1 node here, and then I'm going to right click and select detach script, because at the moment, the script for our game over manager is still enabled. So I want to remove that from this because this is for game winning. So now that it's removed, we can right click and attach a script. And this one is going to be for game 1. So we'll make sure that we're going to save this in the scripts folder. And I'm going to call this game 1 manager. Then we'll click create. Now we'll use the ready function later on, but for now I'm going to get rid of the process function. Then I'm going to click on the button, go to the node signal, and then we'll double click on the pressed option and click connect. And just like with the game over script, in here we're now just going to say game state dot reset. So when we click the button, we can restart the game. Now to make our objective flag, let's create a new scene up here. So add a new scene, and I'll swap back to the 2D view, and let's add our root node for this scene. So we're going to add an area 2D, click create. And as child nodes for this, we will add a collision shape 2D, and we will also add an animated sprite 2D. Now let's start with the animated sprite. So select the animated sprite, go to the inspector, click on animation, select sprite frames, new sprite frames, and click on the sprite frames. Then we can click on the add frames button, and we can go and find the flag from our assets. So in my case, it's in the pixel adventure assets and items, checkpoints, checkpoint, and I'm going to use the idle flag here, checkpoint flag idle. So I open that. Now we'll separate the frames out. So let's increase the amount of horizontal frames up to 10 and the vertical frames to 1. Select the frames from left to right and add the frames. Now we'll rename this animation to idle, and we'll select the autoplay button. I'm going to press F to center, scroll in, and if I select the animate sprite again, let me just preview the animation. So this is too slow, so I'll increase the frames per second here until I'm satisfied. I think 20 frames per second looks pretty smooth. Now if we go to the collision shape 2D on the left, and we will select a shape, I will do a new rectangle shape, and we will position our collision shape appropriately around the animated sprite. Because I added the collision shape first, it's behind the sprite, which is making it a bit hard, so I'm going to actually move the animated sprite above the collision shape. Now it'll be easier to pull the collision shape around the flag. I'm happy with this for being my collision area. So let's go ahead and on the left, let's rename our area 2D here to checkpoint, and let's save the scene. Make sure it's in the scenes folder, and I'm calling it checkpoint, click save. Now let's hop back to our level scene, and we'll drag in our brand new checkpoint. I'm going to put mine up here. This is the end area for this level. Now we'll have to update our scripts and our code to make it so that when our player reaches this flag, we get told that the player has won the game. So I will swap back to my script view, and I'm going to make sure I have the game manager script selected. Now in here, I'm going to create a function called next level, and this function is going to be responsible for handling the logic of how we change levels. Now remember, in the game state script, we're tracking what level number we're on. So at the start of the game, we're on level 1. So inside my next level function here, I'm going to say if game state dot level is equal to 1, so when we're on the first level, we're going to change the level, and we will change it to the game 1 level. And I'm just getting an error here because I misspelled game state, so I'll fix that. Now, with that added, we need to call this next level function when we reach our checkpoint. So we'll have to go back to our checkpoint scene, And then in the left here on checkpoint, we'll right click to attach a script. Let's make sure that's going to save in the scripts folder and click create. Let's get rid of the default code here. Now we need to select level and swap back to the checkpoint script if it takes you off of it. We're going to click and drag in the game manager and hold the control key and let go so that we have a reference to the game manager. Now let's go back to our checkpoint scene and select checkpoint in the top left. Then on the right, we'll open up the node and we will use our body entered. So double click on body entered signal and click connect. Then in here, we'll do what we've done before. We'll say if body.name is equal to player. Then we'll say game manager dot next level. So let's run this and test if this works. Okay, so I ended up having an error when I ran my script. So I accidentally have the wrong reference for the game manager. So if I get rid of that, now all I've done is I'm back in my script for my checkpoint, and I also have the level scene open. So here's my game manager on the left. I'm going to left click, drag it in, hold the control key and let go. The difference is that beforehand, this ... was not here. So when I was running the code, it wasn't able to refer to the correct game manager. So I'll run and test this again and it should be okay now. There we go. And if we press play again, the game restarts. So our game is nearly finished. There are a few more polishing things that we will do in some future videos. But for now, that is us now able to complete the game as well. We'll also look in the future at how to change for extra levels, and we'll also give ourselves some stats when we see the game one screen.